Chapter 1. As a Man Thinketh, by James Allen. The Search for Meaning. Ethan sat in his small apartment, staring out the window at the bustling city below. He had always dreamed of a better life, one where he wasn't constantly struggling with bills, feeling unfulfilled in his career, or battling with his inner doubts. He was 35 now, and though he had worked hard, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. He had big dreams, but they always seemed just out of reach. He had read many books on success, but nothing seemed to resonate with him the way he wanted it to. One evening, after scrolling through his social media feed for inspiration, Ethan came across a post that intrigued him. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, a timeless guide to personal power. Something about the title caught his attention. He clicked on the link and began reading a brief summary. The idea was simple but profound. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. Ethan felt a flicker of recognition. Was it really that simple? Could his thoughts truly shape his reality? He decided to dive deeper and order the book. Chapter 2. The Discovery. Thoughts as the Seeds of Life. A few days later, the book arrived. Ethan eagerly flipped through the pages, ready to understand the deeper meaning behind Allen's words. As he read, the first chapter struck him like a bolt of lightning. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind. And evermore he takes the tool of thought and, shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. Ethan was stunned. He had never thought about his mind in such a powerful way. What Allen was saying was that our thoughts are the very building blocks of our lives. Everything that happens to us, from our successes to our struggles, begins with what we think. The state of our mind directly influences the state of our lives. As Ethan processed this information, he realized that he had been living in a state of constant reaction. He was always thinking about what wasn't working: his job, his relationships, his finances. Rarely stopped to focus on the thoughts that could change his circumstances. But Allen's words were clear. If he wanted to change his life, he first had to change his thoughts. Chapter 3. Mastery over thoughts. The power of self-discipline. Ethan's mind wandered back to his own life. He had often felt like a victim of his circumstances. He didn't have the success he wanted, and he blamed everything: his boss, his lack of connections, his unfortunate timing. But Allen's teachings suggested something different. His thoughts, not external circumstances, were the root cause of his struggles. The book explained that thoughts were like seeds, and each thought had the potential to grow into something powerful. Whether that power was positive or negative depended entirely on the nature of the thought. A thought of fear or doubt could manifest as failure, while a thought of confidence or ambition could lead to success. Allen wrote, "He who has mastered himself has mastered the circumstances of his life." Ethan realized that true success and happiness didn't come from trying to change the world around him. It came from mastering the world within him. Self-discipline, the ability to control his thoughts, was the key. For the first time, Ethan understood that his life didn't happen to him. It was a direct reflection of the thoughts he chose to entertain. Every negative thought he had about himself or his life was simply a mental habit he had cultivated. But now, he had the power to break those habits and replace them with thoughts that aligned with his true potential. Chapter 4. The Role of Character and Self-Development. As Ethan read deeper into the book, he came across another key insight. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Allen emphasized the power of character and how it is shaped by our thoughts. The character of a person is not something they inherit, but something they create. Our thoughts form the foundation of our character, and our character shapes the life we live. Ethan realized that he had often thought of himself as someone who was stuck in life. He had the character of someone who wasn't capable of achieving greatness, someone who was destined to settle for mediocrity. But if Allen was right, this wasn't who he had to be. His character was not set in stone. It was something he could build. The thoughts he had about himself, his abilities, his worth, his potential, could either limit him or set him free. He had spent so much time focusing on what he didn't have, on the things he couldn't control, that he had neglected the most powerful tool available to him, his own mind. His thoughts, if he consciously cultivated them, could reshape his character and, in turn, his life. Chapter 5. The Power of Purpose. Setting clear intentions, Alan's words continued to resonate in Ethan's mind. The ideal man is the one who lives with purpose and direction. Ethan realized that much of his struggle in life came from a lack of clear purpose. He had drifted from one job to the next, never truly committed to a single vision or goal. But purpose was the guiding force that would allow him to direct his thoughts in a focused, powerful way. A man with purpose, according to Alan, was a man who could create his own destiny. Inspired by this, Ethan began to set clear, specific goals for himself. He wanted to live a life of abundance, to have a career that fulfilled him, and to cultivate meaningful relationships. But most importantly, he wanted to be at peace with who he was. He realized that all of these things would begin with his thoughts. His purpose would be built by how he thought about himself and his ability to achieve those goals. He created a vision for his life. Each morning, he visualized himself already living that life of fulfillment. He saw himself as a successful entrepreneur, helping others, making an impact, and living abundantly. Instead of thinking about all the reasons why he couldn't achieve his dreams, he started thinking about all the ways he could make them a reality. Chapter 6. Overcoming Adversity. The Power of Resilience. As Ethan began to change his thoughts and develop his character, he noticed something else. Life didn't become easier overnight. There were still challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Yet Ethan had started to understand that these obstacles weren't signs of failure. They were tests of his character. Alan's wisdom about adversity rang true. Circumstance does not make the man, it reveals him to himself. Ethan realized that when things got tough, he had a choice. He could let the challenges define him and reinforce the old limiting beliefs he had about himself. Or he could rise above the adversity, learning from it and using it as fuel for personal growth. When his business took longer to get off the ground than he had anticipated, Ethan didn't give up. Instead, he focused on maintaining a positive mindset. He understood that true success didn't come from avoiding challenges. It came from how you faced them. With every setback, he grew stronger, and with every challenge, he became more resilient. Chapter 7. The Law of Cause and Effect. The results of right thinking as time went on. Ethan began to experience the fruits of his new mindset. Opportunities started to show up in his life in ways he hadn't expected. He attracted new clients, expanded his business, and was able to hire a team to help him. His personal relationships deepened, and he felt a sense of inner peace he had never known before. Ethan realized that this was the result of his focused thinking, his positive assumptions, and his disciplined mind. It wasn't that the world had changed around him, but that he had changed within. As James Allen had written, "Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind." And evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He saw now that he had the power to create joy or despair with his thoughts, and by consciously choosing thoughts of abundance, gratitude, and success, he had opened the door to new opportunities and personal fulfillment. The more he aligned his mind with his goals, the more those goals seemed to manifest effortlessly in his life. Chapter 8. Living the Truth. Becoming the man he dreamed of months past. And Ethan's life had transformed in ways he hadn't thought possible. He had reached his business goals, repaired relationships that had once been strained, and most importantly, he had become a person he could be proud of. He had stopped seeing himself as a victim of his circumstances, and had started seeing himself as the creator of his own reality. Ethan now understood that the truth of as a man thinketh wasn't just a theory, it was a way of life. His thoughts shaped his reality. If he wanted to live a successful, fulfilling life, he needed to think like a successful, fulfilled person. His thoughts had the power to elevate him or limit him, and he chose to rise. As he sat in his office one evening, reflecting on how far he had come, Ethan smiled. He had become the person he had always wanted to be. It all began with a simple truth. A man is literally what he thinks. Conclusion. The endless power of thought. Ethan now lived with intention. Every thought he had was an opportunity to shape the life he desired. He continued to work on his personal growth, knowing that his mind was the master tool for crafting his future. The power of awareness, the power of thought, and the power of purpose had changed his life in ways he never thought possible. He shared this wisdom with others, teaching them the timeless lessons of James Allen. As he continued on his journey, Ethan knew that the work was never truly finished. Each day brought new opportunities to shape his thoughts, his life, and his destiny. And that was the most powerful gift of all.